It's so interesting because the lack of humility in relationship, we see it all the time, but we usually don't know how to put a thumb on it. And so to have true transformation in your relationship requires two people to be a level 10 out of 10 humble.
If you are 100% different and you've done the conscious couples love languages and you can't find a single thing that you guys agree on, break the fuck up. It is what it is.
Conscious couples, business partners, and singles committed to attracting their dream partner. Welcome to the Conscious Couples podcast, where we share our life, love story, and combined relationship expertise to help you create and consistently cultivate the most magnificent, intimate relationship possible.
Never again will you feel hopeless and alone in your intimate relationship challenges.
Having accumulated thousands of hours coaching conscious couples and individuals all over the world, as well as starting and growing a global business together, Alan and I are here to guide you in all things relationships.
Thank you again for tuning into the one place where it's not about you or me, it's about the we. Conscious couples and individuals, welcome back to the one and only Conscious Couples podcast. Today we have episode 172, Where is Your Partner? Just too different. Before we jump into this episode, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Next Level Podcast Solutions for producing this show and so many others. Personal growth, self-improvement, personal development, mental health, all of the things, including Evolve Ventures, including Next Level University, including Business Growth University, including Podcast Growth University. My goodness, we are having quite an impact. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If you are a podcaster who wants to start, grow, scale, and monetize your podcast, Next Level Podcast Solutions is the fucking way. Sometimes I want to get a reaction out of Emilia, so I'll say something outrageous on the mic. Before we get started, there we go, I got a good laugh out of her. Before we get started, sweetheart, what is your intention for today's episode?
My intention for our listeners in today's episode is to help differentiate when their partner is copping out versus crying for help. When it comes to this sentiment that we hear actually a lot when it comes to couples, of this just being too different. And being different is okay, but it's how your partner handles the differences says a lot about the relationship.
You have to make sure your yin is yanging.
And the yang is yinning.
Exactly. All right, so this past Saturday, Emilia and I had a relationship talks coaching free 30-minute breakthrough session with one of her Evolve clients.
Shout out to you.
Yes, shout out to you two both. You two both. Shout out to both of you. We had both of them on. The male partner came on, and that was the first time that you had met him.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. So, and during this session, it was essentially at one point the male had said something, I don't know, we're just very different. And we had a moment where we took them through the 25 conscious love languages. By the way, for any new listeners out there, if you have never heard of the 25 conscious love languages, it's essentially a far greater expansion on Gary Chapman's 5 love languages. There's a book called The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. And Emilia and I, when we first started this business of the We Together and the Conscious Couples podcast, we realized there is so much more than 5. Mm-hmm. So we have the 25 conscious love languages, and we have a worksheet that we've been using for more than 4.5 years now. Mm-hmm. And it has 2 columns. It has the 25 conscious love languages in the center. It's a PDF. You can download it in the show notes. Please do.
Please do.
And sit down with your partner. You owe it to yourself and to your relationship to sit down with your partner and do this. Mm-hmm. Okay? On the left side, it has partner 1, 0 to 10. How important is this love language? On the right side, there's partner 2. How important is this love language? And we're looking for love language mismatches. So if one partner, hypothetically, has physical touch as a 10 out of 10, and another partner has it as a 2 out of 10, that's what's called an 8 mismatch. And basically, you're going to end up telling yourself a story, we're just too different, when in reality, you haven't yet done the work to find out what is in common. Of course, there's certain things that I like that Emilia doesn't. Of course, there's certain things that Emilia likes that I don't. But what we've done is we've done the work to find, okay, she loves fitness. She loves hiking. I love fitness. She loves hiking. She loves fitness. I love hiking. Let's hike and do adventure racing as a fitness endeavor, which I'm super excited, by the way, for Evolve Olympics. which you talked about briefly with one of my clients on Instagram.
Yeah.
That's for another time. That's for another time because I'm announcing it long before it's supposed to be a thing. But ultimately, Emilia and I have done the work to figure out what we do have in common so that we can integrate and have the most magnificent experiences possible.
Yeah, it's like if you and I met and started dating for a couple months, and then all of a sudden, because I don't like a specific restaurant that you love, kind of taking it at face value and saying, I think we're just too different. I don't know if we can go out to dinner again. It's like that. I use that as like a playful analogy because I think that everyone can relate to going to a restaurant and sitting down and someone not liking the menu and then just kind of totally rejecting the whole experience in a nutshell, and how frustrating that is to the person who probably put in a lot of logistics and put in a lot of effort to make that night a special night or what have you.
And in this metaphor, there are other restaurants.
Yes.
So we stopped eating sushi because I had sushi and simultaneously had a stomach ache that Emilia is not convinced it was the sushi, and I'm not necessarily either, but now it's harder for me to put it down. And our first date was a ton of sushi. The point that we're making here is there are obviously going to be certain things that you disagree on. Emilia still loves sushi. I'm not really for it right now in this chapter of my life. That doesn't mean we can't go to dinner together.
For sure.
And so again, maybe you are just too different, and maybe that's true, but don't jump to that conclusion until after you really dig deep beneath the iceberg and figure out, okay, what do we have in common?
Yeah. One of the things that I would suggest to people who do hear that come up in their relationship a lot is asking themselves the question, okay, but why are we different? Because I think that question will help illuminate what is at the crux of what this whole dialogue that we're going to talk about on this podcast is here to illuminate. You're different because you either have a core value in conflict, right? So you might value, let's say in this instance, you might use fitness as an example. You might value fitness and I might value hanging out. You might have a core belief that's in conflict. I believe that health is not as important as hanging out with friends. You might believe that your health is the most important thing ever. Friends come at the last of the list if your health isn't in check. Or we might have a core value that's in conflict. A core aspiration that's in conflict. You have a goal to become the most fit version of yourself within a year, right? Maybe drop 10 pounds, et cetera, et cetera. I might have a core aspiration of mine to go traveling to Africa. And that's my biggest goal. So when you ask the question, why, you start to uncover and unveil, which is why this 25 Conscious Couples Love Language worksheet is so powerful. Not only do you understand at the surface level what the mismatch is, but it allows you to dig a little bit deeper, which most couples are not skilled at learning how to dig deeper. And in this Relationship Talks free coaching session, it was very obvious that they've never had anyone facilitating an experience to help them both dig deeper and educate themselves and each other about each other at the deeper levels. And my client in this scenario is a much deeper thinker, someone who experiences life in a deeper lens than her partner. But in her partner's, not defense, but as an observation, her partner was never really taught to understand the differences and to use creative thinking to help them learn. If you like hiking or if you love the outdoors and your partner does too, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't go outside and find a creative solution to do things together. I'll never forget, you and I had a client at one point who she loved reading, and she loved reading in the outdoors. It was lovely. Mm-hmm. And he loved fishing. And so we had them combine their what they valued together to actually spend more quality time together and learn each other at a deeper level. And they ended up, they sent us a picture of them kayaking or canoeing with him fishing and her reading. And that was a beautiful integration of their core values, because if they turned at first level that, okay, well, I love reading and you like fishing, and just looked at that surface value and said, that's it, we're just too different, we can never really spend time together. That's a snap judgment that is so incorrect. And it's just not, it isn't fair to the relationship to not have two partners digging.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I've had partners in the past that would say we're just too different. And honestly, in hindsight, I do understand now that what they were really saying is this is not going to work because you're more goal-oriented than I am wanting to be. And that I do think there are certain situations. I know you can think of things in the past too, where I look at past relationships where a past partner said, we're just too different. I actually agree with her in hindsight. It's true. Now, but that's more of a principle paradigm-centered thing. A paradigm is a deep belief about the meaning of life. So I believe deeply that reaching your true potential and growth and contribution and chasing goals and dreams and building toward a bigger, better, brighter future, that's my deep belief, my conviction about the purpose of life. If my past partner, her deep belief was have as much fun as possible and just have as much fun and unique experiences in the moment. So Emilia and I work
like
much
oil
better.
And water.
Yes, exactly. So a core belief in conflict, if it's completely diametric opposites, there are situations where you might actually be too different, but don't just jump there because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Let me explain. If you say, well, we're just too different, okay, well then why even try to find something to integrate?
Right.
What I would rather couples do is sit down, do this conscious love languages worksheet, identify the differences between each other's core values, love languages in this case, and work on finding ones that are in common and trying to integrate. If you do that for years and put in the work for years, and then you go, you know what, honestly, I do think we are too different, that's very different than just being like, well, she doesn't really like shooting guns or riding bikes or whatever it is. And I remember I was in a relationship with someone in the past who liked to go to the club. And I was way past that phase in my life, and I wanted to go to the gym. And she and her friends would all go out in Providence. And I remember thinking, this is fucking terrible. But I still, there's also some level of I can find a way to make this fun. I didn't drink. I still had fun dancing. And so there's ways to do it. I think compromise is dangerous because if you compromise who you are screwed. But I do think integration is totally a thing. And I think that this whole, well, we're too different. Well, okay, well, if that's your belief, then you're not going to try to do the work. You're not going to invest. So if you believe you're too different, you're going to believe less in the relationship. If you believe less in the relationship, you're going to invest less in the relationship. If you invest less in the relationship, you're going to get proof that it's not worth it. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy of just what we call the doom loop.
Yeah.
What I call the doom loop in my coaching. The doom loop is I don't believe, so I don't invest. I don't invest, so it gets worse. And when it gets worse, I believe in even less. And that plummets to the ground.
A little over a year and a half ago, I attended my first relationship call with Alan and Emilia. And as a single mother, I was very curious what I was actually going to be able to take away from it. I was very blown away with how deep we could actually go in that first session alone. It really opened the doors and opened my eyes to a lot of my patterning and wounding around relationships. Through attending some of their live events and through work with them, I have really grown in confidence, in learning how to love and show up for myself, which has been huge. And it's really set the bar high when in terms of standards for relationships and what I desire and need out of a relationship. They very much practice what they preach, and it's so nice to see people working consciously on relationships. Again, it's really set the bar high for what I look for and what I desire in a relationship. So I'm super grateful to be able to learn and grow from them and be a part of this community.
The success loop in my coaching is I believe in it, the bigger, better, brighter future. I believe in the relationship in this context. Therefore, I invest in the relationship. Therefore, it gets better. Therefore, I have more to believe in. And that's the self-fulfilling prophecy. So my question for you, love, what would be your suggestion? Anyone out there watching or listening who finds themselves in a similar situation and there's a partner who says, well, we're just very different. What would you say for them?
When they have a partner saying we're just very different, I think anyone can hear that and, like I said at the very beginning, recognize it and have it feel like a cop-out. What I would say to that person who might hear that from their partner is I would ask them again.
Which partner are you talking to? Are you talking to the one that says it or the one who hears it?
I'm going to talk to the one that says it.
Okay.
Will you be willing to talk to the one who hears it?
Oh, for sure.
Okay, cool. Can we play a little here
Yeah.
on that? Okay, so I would talk to the one that is just saying that, and I would offer them, and I would say, likely what you're saying to your partner is that you don't care in the relationship and you have given up. That is likely what they're hearing. So given that
wait a minute, you're talking to the one who is saying
it. Yeah. So I'm pulling them behind the scenes and saying, hey, this is probably how it's coming off to your partner.
Oh, that's how it's coming off.
Yeah, this is probably how it's coming off to your partner.
Okay.
And if that is the case, that you actually don't care in the relationship and you're done and you've given up and you're no longer interested or believe that this relationship is worth your time, effort, or money, then let's come to that conclusion and just say it outright to yourself. And then maybe not to your partner, because I think that that's aggressive, but I do think that a coward never says that to their partner. A coward never actually recognizes, hey, I don't believe in my capabilities to learn more about how to be in this relationship with you and how to bridge the gap of differences, because I only have so little self-belief within myself or so little desire to bridge that gap. And I'm struggling to do so or learn why it would be worth it. And as a result of that, I've decided to share with you the best way I know how to explain that, instead of actually having humility, vulnerability, and courageous communication, and say, I think we're just too different. Now, if that's not the case, though, your humility, your vulnerability, and your courageous communication needs to come up. More on the humility and the vulnerability than the courageous communication.
Which would be what?
Which would be, hey, actually, you know what? I know I've said in the past that I think we're just too different. And I know my actions probably look, in every way you slice it, like I've copped out. And I've probably done that for so long that you're probably so tired of trying to bridge that gap. And that's so unfair to you. And I'm going to ask you, what do you believe would help us to actually bridge that gap, so that you're not taking 100% of that trek to kind of come to me to bridge that gap? Because I recognize that that's not actually a fair and equitable relationship. And I realize that I have put us in a position to where now you likely resent me, you likely hold contempt, and I've been incredibly emotionally immature and unintelligent in this relationship, which is unfair.
Whoa.
But usually people don't do that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's
because that would require you coming outside of your ego that is so self-protective.
Okay, so let's unpack that real quick. Let's unpack that a little more. So what you're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, and I do agree, by the way, but I want to confirm that the partner who is saying we're just too different is saying one of two things. They're either saying, I am concerned deep down, but too afraid to admit it to you, that I don't know how to integrate.
Yeah, cry for help.
Yep. A cry for help. Mm-hmm. What was it that you said before we hit record?
Cop out or cry for help.
Cop out or cry for help. Okay, so that would be a cry for help?
Yeah, but covered in ego.
Covered in ego. Okay. What would be the cop out version?
The cop out would be, we're just too different, and honestly, I don't give a fuck.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so are those the only two options for that person?
Sure.
No, honey, I'm actually asking.
In reality?
Yeah.
I would say no, there's probably somewhere in the middle of, I'm struggling to let down my ego, and I don't know what you would label it in terms of cry for help or cop out, but in the middle it would be, I don't want to cop out, but I don't believe in my abilities, and I'm only willing to a 50% degree to let down my ego to showcase my vulnerability to you, because I'm afraid of getting hurt, and I only have so many skills to protect my self-protective systems, which has, because I've been beaten because of this, because of that, because I hang out with crappy people, or whatever the narrative is, that has been my survival shield my whole life.
Okay. So the partner who says we're just too different, I'm going to speak from the partner who is having that said to them. Mm-hmm. The partner who's having that said to them is most likely thinking, well, then what's the point in even, like, are you copping out? I've had that said in the past, and it's, okay, well, then what's the point of us trying to be together? There's two ways to take that. One is you take all the responsibility on yourself to try to find out how to integrate. I remember I had a partner in the past that said, will you watch trash TV with me? And I did, and I tried, and ended up being a season finale, which was like 2 hours long. And I decided after that I can never do that again.
Can't
but
visit.
the point that I'm making is that usually the partner who doesn't hold that belief, who still has hope for the future of the relationship, is willing to invest so much more. Here's the deal, people. I'm just going to come out and say it. The person who has higher belief in themselves and in the relationship is going to invest more in it. More time, more effort, more money. And if you are the person who's on the other end of, hey, we're just too different, the cop-out, you need to have the self-respect and self-worth to call that out and say, well, I'm not going to put in 100% of the effort if you're not going to meet me halfway in doing the work we need to do in order to integrate. And this is hard for Emilia and I, quite frankly, listeners and viewers, because I've never once said that in our relationship, and neither has she. Emilia and I live in a relationship where we take 100% responsibility for the success of it. Mm-hmm. And there have been times in the past where I was scared because Emilia didn't like watching movies as much as I did, and it's one of my favorite things in the entire world. But instead of giving up, she opened herself up to potentially watching more movies with me, and I also got way better at curating films that Emilia adores. And now there have been times where I don't want to watch a movie and she's coming to me like, is it movie night?
So because I had this self-respect, I was unwilling to give up and trade off who I am and what makes me me to have the standards to integrate with you. For example, what was incredibly important for me to self-respect is say, hey babe, I'm willing to watch movies with you. However, I need to make sure that I get my nature fix in there, because like watching a movie is kind of like I can knock off unless it's
especially if it's a dumb
nature.
Movie. It needs to have nature in it. It needs to be inspiring. There's a lot of things but we never gave up on trying to integrate, and I think that's the key here.
I'm so proud of that.
So both of our timers just went off. We got to jump here. Conscious couples, conscious singles, conscious partners out there. I know that a lot of you, either in the past or in the present, have gone up against this. We're just too different. We're just two different people. We're just really different. Yin and yang, male and female, masculine and feminine. Even if you're in a heterosexual or homosexual relationship, there's still differences. No two human beings are identical.
Yeah, you
now,
should be different.
If you're
capacity, it's like that's the joy of relationships.
100%.
You don't want to be in a relationship with yourself. Like you can do that. You don't need someone else to be that alias for you. You know.
So if you are 100% different and you've done the conscious couples love languages and you can't find a single thing that you guys agree on, break the fuck up. It is what it is. But until you do that work, keep investing. It might be worth it. And if you need help with this, we are playful on here. I am often playful, but real talk. If you need help with this, please reach out. Relationship Talks Coaching. The first one is free, 30 minutes. It can be transformational. Mm-hmm. We've seen it happen time and time again. We've been coaching couples and individuals for 4.5 years, and Emilia and I have been coaching for a lot longer than that. And not everyone, but I coach 20 business owners. I would say 90% of them have intimate relationships, and sometimes they feel misunderstood, and I help them in that regard too. And I know you do as well.
I was just going to say the only RTC, and I'm thinking back, the only ones that weren't transformational on the first one is because one partner was so grouchy and already had a belief that this wasn't going to help. Nothing was going to help because they had this belief that they were just too different. And so it's so interesting because the lack of humility in relationship, we see it all the time, but we usually don't know how to put a thumb on it. And so to have true transformation in your relationship requires two people to be a level 10 out of 10 humble. And that's why you and I are here today, because of our humility levels. And that's why we're able to help so many couples transform, be it on 30 minutes or in a different context, different setting, because those people have a level 10 out of 10 humility.
And if you're one of the partners out there that is tolerating this behavior, and you're hearing your partner say this all the time, and you're putting in 100% of the effort, maybe what you do next time, this is just a suggestion, you do it on your own accord, you go, you know what, honestly, I agree with you, and I don't even know if this is worth it anymore.
Yeah,
and just agree with them.
Showcase how different we are.
Exactly. And when you agree with your partner on that, they're going to go, wait, what do you mean? And it's, well, you said we're too different, so what's the point? I think we should break up.
Yeah, let's start.
And then see if they sing a different tune after that. Oh, yeah. Or if it's, oh, thank you, I've been waiting to break up. It's one of those things. So anyways, that's behind the scenes work we can do. Book Relationship Talks Coaching. Sweetheart, we have an event.
Yes, in that same tune. In the show notes, you'll see a register for this event link. Click on that to register for our next one, which is how to determine your relationship's commitment level. This will be June 19th, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A lot of couples are in relationship but not committed.
Is your partner as committed as you are? Or are you not as committed as your partner? We've all been in a position, well, I certainly have, where I was putting in way more time and effort to try to make it work. I was the try hard, and I will never do that shit again. I'm making sure Emilia and I are yinning and yanging. Make sure your yin is yanging. So thank you all so much. We hope to see you at that event. That event is exactly what this episode is about, but deeper. Far more tactful, far more strategy. We hope to see you there. Keep your mic and camera off or engage as much as you'd like. Conscious Couples community, thank you so much. We appreciate you. And as always, it's not about you or me. It's about the we. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Conscious Couples podcast. We love connecting with the Conscious Couples community, so please make sure you follow us on Instagram. I am at Evolve with Emilia, and Alan is A-Lazarus88.
Also, if you or your partner resonated with this episode, leave us a review at the link in the show notes, and please share this with someone you love and care about.
Until next time, remember, it's not about you or me. It's about
the we.